What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and I got some updates for you, some Dolphin-specific related stuff, some NFL in general stuff, and then a little bit about some MLB stuff, because as I told you, fall sports, winter sports are doomed for failure for multiple reasons, including the civil unrest, and that's what's actually affecting it the most right now. Although, you know, the coronavirus has affected almost all sports leagues as well, and has done, damage to their seasons on its own. But now the civil unrest and the protests and so on and so forth are really, putting a hurting on, even like, the playoffs for, basketball. They're canceling pretty much all the playoff games right now, and the MLB is also following. So from Yahoo Sports, more MLB games postponed as players walk out to protest Jacob Blake shooting. More players and teams around Major League Baseball are walking out of their games scheduled for Thursday to protest the shooting of Jacob Blake by police in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Real quick, I just want to note that every time there's some sort of like protest or new protest or this happens, they always link it to the most recent atrocity, right? Like in this case, Jacob Blake, whatever. And then there's always, unfortunately, there's just too fucking many. There's a super long list. The point I'm trying to make here, though, is let's note that it's not just that one incident that caused the protest. It's all of them, right? It's all of these things that have happened, etc., etc., and it builds up and people get pissed, right? And then they react. Anyway, let's see, where was I? The Texas Rangers, Oakland Athletics, and Philadelphia Phillies chose not to play Thursday, according to ESPN's Jeff Passan and Jim Salisbury of NBC Sports Philly. The Nationals were scheduled to play the Phillies, but according to Salisbury, Phillies players made their decision on their own. And I mean, that's the thing. A lot of these, the same thing with the NBA, right? The players are like, no, like the Milwaukee, is it the Bucks for basketball, or is that baseball? The Brewers is baseball. Yeah, the Brewers is whatever. Anyway, they decided not to show up for their playoff game, right? And then it just cascaded from there, and so on and so forth. And good, man, they should be, because this shit's bullshit. It's bullshit. Anyway, the decisions come a day after the Brewers, Reds, Dodgers, Giants, Padres, and Mariners didn't play. The Brewers and Mariners specifically started the protests in baseball, as the Brewers play 40 miles away from where Blake was shot, and the Mariners have the most black players in MLB. The Phillies, A's, and Rangers were the first teams to raise their voices Thursday, but don't figure to be the last. There are discussions around the league, according to various reports, about teams postponing games in protest. The Boston Red Sox reportedly are strongly considering not playing Thursday as well, according to Passan. So are the Mets, according to Cardinals pitcher Jack Flaherty. Yeah, man, I'm telling you, like, and it's, we'll get to the NFL in a minute. But people, if you think that it's not going to affect the NFL, you're wrong, because we're actually going to get to how it is affecting the NFL already. Now, the NFL's not in a position where we're playing games yet, but this stuff's, the civil unrest isn't going to get any better between now and the start of the season, or anywhere in the middle of it either. So, let alone the coronavirus, as that continues to get worse throughout the fall and winter months. But it's destined to shut down. It's unimaginable to me that the NFL is going to be able to have a season this year. But technically it is still on. So anyway, MLB players taking cues from the NBA. The protests in baseball come after similar protests arose in the NBA on Wednesday night. The Milwaukee Bucks decided not to play their postseason game in protest, but the entire league eventually followed. The WNBA did the same. Some NBA players wanted to initially pull the plug on their entire postseason bubble, but players voted Thursday to keep their postseason going, except for the Lakers and the Clippers have pulled out. So that is a pretty big deal. Like, I can't, and that's another thing. Like, I can't imagine why they would want to continue if some of your, playoff teams just decided not to play anymore. Like, it's mind-boggling to me why you would want to continue. Like, because it totally fucks everything up. Like, Anyway, whatever. Because, I mean, I know the reason. It's obviously the money, whatever. But, like, it's so dumb. More MLB players speaking out. More baseball players have lent their voice to the right against racial injustice after the Jacob Blake shooting. On Wednesday, players such as Dexter Fowler, Jason Hayward, Jack Flaherty, and Matt Kemp opted not to play, even though their teams did. We haven't heard of any such cases yet for Thursday, but players have been using their interviews and social media platforms to speak up. And like I said, I mean, expect it to continue, and as it should. And unfortunately, here's the thing, right? So the protesters, right, are trying to be peaceful. They're doing their best. They have been. But the other side, who is the other side? The other side is the cops, is unfortunately a lot of our public officials, these right-wing psychos that are now out in the streets and militias shooting people, right? They're fascists and they want to cause harm on people. They desire that. They, couldn't be more happy that the class war has begun, etc., right? So it's not going to get any better because the other side is going to continue to instigate and escalate because that's what they want, right? So, yeah, like I said, I don't understand how people are going to think that the season is going to be able to play on as normal. There are just way too many larger things going on in the world and in life that will affect it and that will cause it to shut down. Anyway, let's continue on though, because there is some evidence of that already, even though the NFL is not, like I said, to the point where we're playing games yet. We still got a couple weeks to go for that. But the players are already starting to, and teams are already starting to, join in the protests in their own ways and in the ways that they can. So the Colts, Jets, Packers, and more NFL teams canceled practice after Jacob Blake shooting. The Indianapolis Colts announced Thursday they canceled practice in order to work toward making a lasting social impact and inspiring change in our communities. The New York Jets, Washington football team, and Green Bay Packers are among the teams that also canceled practice Thursday. Let's see. The decision to cancel practice came a day after multiple NBA and MLB games were postponed in protest following the shooting of 29-year-old black man Jacob Blake by police in Kenosha, Wisconsin this week. Blake is currently paralyzed from the waist down, according to his father. Game 5 of the Orlando Magic versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Whatever. They're just going through all the games that got canceled for the MLB. MLS, soccer, Major League Soccer also canceled a bunch of stuff. There are, other sports athletes that are also deciding to protest and not, participate in their sport, whatever, golf, tennis. I don't know that tennis is playing right now. Golf is. I think there were a couple golfers. Anyway, the fact that multiple NFL teams have chosen not to practice Thursday is no small gesture, since the first game of the NFL regular season takes place September 10th, just 2 weeks from now. The COVID-19 pandemic has caused the cancellation of all preseason games, so practice is the most significant form of preparation teams will have for the season. It isn't yet known if some players or entire teams will opt to protest during the season, resulting in the potential postponement of games, but when asked about it Wednesday, Seattle Seahawks head coach Pete Carroll said anything's possible. Bruh, dude, it's the postponement of games. You can only maybe do that for like 1 week. And really, maybe only for like a couple games. If you start having to postpone or cancel games in an NFL season, it's just going to dissolve and crumble super fast. Because it's not like soccer or baseball or basketball where they have so many more games in a season than we do, right? You have a ton more wiggle room than you do with just 16 games. So, and then of course, bye weeks, what are you going to start fucking, I know the answer to this. The NFL will happily just take every team's bye week and be like, okay, nobody gets a bye week. You just every team is going to have to play 16 straight. Deal with it. What? Okay. No. What? Because they don't care about the players or their health or their safety. They will do that because they want to make sure that the NFL season continues on as it should, so they can make as much profit or as much money as they possibly can. The NBA playoffs are potentially in jeopardy as the Los Angeles Lakers and Los Angeles Clippers both voted to boycott the remainder of the season out of protest, per Shams Charania of The Athletic and Stadium. Charania also noted that most other NBA teams voted to continue playing, but doing so without the Lakers and Clippers would be difficult unless the NBA forces them to forfeit their series if they don't want to play. That's why I'm saying, like, it's just a giant fucking shit show. Why would you want... Anyway, whatever. The NFL still... Because it's just... the quality of it just becomes so lessened at that point. The NFL still has 2 weeks before games are played, but given the situation that is unfolding in the NBA, it will be worth monitoring whether the 2020 schedule may be impacted. Again, bro, it's just inconceivable to me that with all of the things going on in the world, that the NFL will be able to successfully put on a season. But here we are, because we live in this absolutely absurd and ridiculous world. But anyway, whatever. There is one more thing that I do want to discuss because it is actually Dolphins related in particular. There was reports last night. There were multiple sources last night. I didn't get to this because it was late and I didn't feel like it. And it wasn't confirmed yet. So I didn't feel like it was... all that urgent to put out, but there were talks and reports that the Dolphins were going to release running back Kalen Ballage. Now, we did just talk about the other day that they brought in that other running back. I can't remember his fucking name off the top of my head. But they did just bring in a new running back, and at the time I was like, well, why are they doing that when they have Matt Breida and Jordan Howard and Patrick Laird and Myles Gaskin and Kalen Ballage? Now, they still have all those guys except for Ballage because they did actually get rid of him today. But they still have Howard and Breida and, all these other guys. So my point there is there are definitely other positions on this roster that they could really use help at. So it wouldn't have been the whatever. I mean, I don't understand like any of the decisions that this coaching staff makes. Look, in the Ballage instance, it's not all that surprising that they got rid of him. He didn't perform all that well last year, although I don't think that was really had anything to do with him. Anyway, let's real quick just get into what happened, because the Dolphins didn't end up even releasing him. They traded him, which is interesting, especially who they traded him to. And so I wanted to get in this before I get the full discussion. So, report: Kalen Ballage traded to the Jets by Dolphins for a conditional draft pick. The Miami Dolphins are trading running back Kalen Ballage to the New York Jets for a conditional late round draft pick, according to NFL Network's Ian Rappaport. So it'll likely be a conditional pick in like the 6th or 7th round. Or, 5th to 7th round, something like that. Which, if they get anything at all, I even saw some stuff that, depending on, how it plays out. I mean, he might not even, the Dolphins might not even get anything at all if he doesn't, play out a full season or perform to a certain level, whatever. But anyway, it would be a late round pick, so they're not getting much for him, but they do get credit for at least getting something for him as opposed to nothing. Because I did see some reports that there were multiple teams apparently that were going to, pick him up and, claim him off of waivers once the Dolphins cut him. Because obviously last night the reports were put out that they were going to do so. So teams were planning on, whatever. So apparently, Adam Gase, he was the guy who drafted him, and he decided to give a conditional late round pick to get him. Now, it's interesting because they also do have Frank Gore there, and Le'Veon Bell, I do believe, is still there. However, I've been saying for a while that I didn't expect Adam Gase to keep Le'Veon Bell around for all of that long. And so this could be, with them bringing in Frank Gore in the offseason and Kalen Ballage, that could spell, Le'Veon's departure. Because he's not a big fan of high-priced free agents, and he wasn't a huge fan of Le'Veon Bell to begin with. So he didn't really want him. Also, but, Kalen Ballage obviously is his guy. Now, I've said this. I think Kalen Ballage is a specific type of runner, right? So that's part of the reason why I don't put the blame on Kalen Ballage for him being so garbage last year. Also, because the team was just trash, right? And the coaching staff did all kinds of like intentionally dumb shit to put the team in bad position to succeed. Like with play calling and personnel usage, etc. So there are a bunch of factors as to why Kalen Ballage didn't perform well. I don't really put it on him so much because he has shown to do some good things, but he's a specific type of runner. What is that, right? He's a bigger, bulkier kind of guy that's better at like short yardage, in between the tackles, goal line kind of stuff, right? He's not great in, hitting the outside. He doesn't have a ton of top end speed, he's not the fastest guy. He's not the shiftiest guy, and he's not all that great in the pass game. So he has a specific role. Now they do have Frank Gore there in New York, so it does seem a little odd there, but Frank Gore is obviously far older, and Kalen Ballage, he got to Miami before Gore, I think. I can't remember now. But either way, part of that and part of why Gore was there in Miami was to be a mentor to Ballage, because Gase envisions Ballage to be a Frank Gore style runner. Now, he's not likely to, have anywhere near the same career as Frank Gore, but just the similar in style, right, and purpose. So, and that's what he's hoping to get out of him there, I'm assuming. But let's get through this article real fast. The Miami Dolphins are trading running back Kalen Ballage to the New York Jets for a conditional late round draft pick, according to Ian Rappaport. That the Jets gave up any sort of asset for Ballage is somewhat surprising because Rappaport reported Wednesday the Dolphins were planning to release him outright. Cameron Wolf of ESPN reported New York head coach Adam Gase wanted to leave nothing to chance. He says before the Dolphins could release Kalen Ballage, Adam Gase and Jets decided to trade a late-round pick for him, sources say. AFC East rival trade, so Ballage reunited with Gase. There was something that out there that said about there were a bunch of teams. I can't remember. I think like the Browns were on it. I don't know. There was a tweet somewhere that I saw that said there were a bunch of teams interested, so he wanted to jump in and whatever. And look, I mean, a conditional late round pick is not really much to give up for a former fourth round pick that you're familiar with and that you might have, a specific role carved out for him. The Dolphins selected Ballage in the 4th round in the 2018 draft. The former Arizona State star ran for 326 yards and 4 touchdowns over 24 appearances. He struggled mightily in 2019 as his 1.8 yards per carry average were the fewest in the league among players with at least 50 carries per Pro Football Reference. In addition to his underwhelming numbers to date, adding Ballage is somewhat of a head-scratcher because the Jets already have a solid backfield. Le'Veon Bell is back as New York's primary ball carrier, and the team signed Frank Gore to a 1-year deal to be his backup. The Jets also used a 4th-rounder on Florida running back La'Mical Pirine in the 2020 draft for good measure. I'm pretty sure Le'Veon Bell's not going to be there for much longer. Of course, the timing of the trade may not be coincidental, as it comes one day after Bell publicly questioned his usage in practice. And this is what Le'Veon Bell said. It's tough to stay loose when you do a bunch of standing around, and I'm used to going. I practice for a game. I need to practice to be great in games. Duh. He continued. Ballage clearly isn't going to replace Bell or assume his role in the offense, but fans are left to wonder whether Gase is somehow attempting to send a message to the 3-time Pro Bowler. Look, I mean, but Le'Veon Bell didn't perform all that well either. So, and he is getting old and has, older anyway, especially for a running back, and has had some injury history and injury concerns. So, and Kalen Ballage is certainly younger and has less tread on the tires to this point, etc. Le'Veon Bell, though, is a better complement in the passing game. But look, I mean, La'Mical Pirine is a good prospect. I think I liked that pick for them. I actually really liked the Jets draft that they had this year. I think Gase is really good at drafting players. I think the evidence is there to prove that. And so, look, I trust him. A lot of people don't, but I do. And I think he's going to get it. I think he's doing a lot better than what the Dolphins are doing right now, but we'll see how it plays out. I mean, look, we might not even get to find out because, I don't know, man, with the way things are going, maybe there's never football ever again. I doubt that. I'm pretty sure that they'll, get it going at some point. But with the, with the virus, and it's expected to, push into next year at this point, and with the civil unrest and, all the craziness going on, certainly football for this year, and, it might bleed into next year. It might be a bit rough. So it might take a minute before we actually get to see how these things all play out and which teams actually prove to do better in the long run. Anyway, with that, I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here. I hope you guys appreciate my perspective. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. And of course, as always, follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.